Hello, and welcome to the Murder House Radio Show. I'm your host, X. On this show, we will be covering serial killers, mass shooters, disappearances, true crime, and the most deplorable things and people in history. All that good, dark stuff. The Murder House Radio Show will be a radio show / podcast. I'll be uploading videos every Friday at 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Once you hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification and select all to get all notifications if you are viewing on YouTube. And hit follow if you are listening on a podcasting platform. So sit down, get comfortable, grab some coffee or whatever your preferred beverage is, turn off the lights, and enjoy the show. Hey guys, how's it going? I'm doing pretty good. And I hope you're doing pretty good and you're having a good Friday and a good start to your month. Time flies, man. Time flies. But let me know how you've been doing down in the comments below and all that good stuff. But yeah, I'm doing pretty good so far. But yes, if you wish to ask for some advice to be covered at the end of the podcast / broadcast, the podcast email will be in the description below, as well as the sources for today's video. So yeah, go check all those out. Email some advice you want advice on. I don't fucking know. But yes, and I feel like I should also add that these are dark things, but I do have dark fucked up humor, so I will just, drop dark fucked up humor to try to lighten up the mood of the podcast every once in a while if I see fit. So, don't be a fucking pussy. But yeah, let's dive into today's episode. So today's episode will be on the Yorkshire Ripper, who is Peter William Scutcliff. Scutcliff. Sutcliffe. So, I don't think I've ever heard of this dude, so I will be learning with you guys when you guys are hearing this, so, So he was born on the 2nd of June, 1946. Oh shit, so he died last year, November 13th, 2020. But yes, his name Peter William Coonan. Oh, okay. Was an English serial killer, British, word up. Covered a few British serial killers on this podcast so far. Who was dubbed the Yorkshire Ripper, an allusion to Jack the Ripper, word, by the press, word. So on the 22nd of May, 1981, he was found guilty of murdering 13 women and attempting to murder 7 others between 1975 and 1980. Holy fuck, only 5 years, jeez. He was sentenced to 20 concurrent life sentences, word. So concurrent, if I remember correctly, is one after the other. Oh wait, no. Yeah, that's consecutive, I think. Yeah, that's consecutive, not concurrent. Never mind, my bad. But which were converted to a whole life order in 2010. All but 2 of the fucking Peter's murders took place in West Yorkshire. The other murders in Manchester. Interesting. Yeah, I've been to the UK. I've been to London, Birmingham, and Manchester, I believe. But that was back when I was in grade 8. So that was interesting. But Scutfield initially attacked women and girls in residential areas, but appeared to have moved to the red light districts because he was attracted by the vulnerability of the prostitutes. But he had allegedly regularly used the services of the hookers in Leeds and Bradford, And after his arrest in Sheffield by South Yorkshire police for driving with false number plates, so a false license plate word, in January 1981, Scutfield was transferred to West Yorkshire police, who questioned him about the killings. Word. He confessed to being the killer, and he said that the voice of God had sent him on a mission to kill prostitutes. Holy fuck. At his trial, Scutcliff, words. So Peter pled not guilty to murder on the grounds of diminished responsibility. In criminal law, diminished responsibility is a potential defense by excuse by which defendants argue that although they broke the law, they should not be held fully criminally liable for doing so, as their mental functions were diminished or impaired. Interesting. But he was convicted of murder on a majority verdict. Following his conviction, Peter began using his mother's maiden name of Coonan. Okay, so that is interesting. Interesting stuff. So as you already know by now, sometimes my reading can be complete fucking dog shit. But it'd be like that. So just bear with me. But he was one of the largest and most expensive manhunts. So his apprehension or whatever was the one of the most expensive in British history. And Westshire police were criticized for their failure to catch Peter despite having interviewed him 9 times in the course of their 5-year investigation. Yeah, that's a fuck up. If someone comes up for an interview fucking 9 times out of however many people, you ought to think fucking push them higher up on your priority list. Holy. But so because the case was so highly publicized, the police handled an exceptional amount of information, makes sense, some of it misleading, including the West Side Jack hoax recorded message and letters purporting to be from the Ripper hole. Following Peter's conviction, the government ordered a review of the investigation conducted by the Inspector of Constabulary, Lawrence Byford, known as the Byford Report. Okay. So their findings were made fully public in 2006 and confirmed the validity of the circumstances against the force. And the report led to changes to the investigative procedures which were adopted across UK police forces. Yeah, I mean, like, if you fuck dog hard enough, because we'll get to, like, why or whatever, or we'll get into it later, but, like, if you fuck dog hard enough, shit gotta change, and then if that change is, that much needed, everybody gotta adopt it. That's just the way she goes. But, in 2019, The Guardian described the manhunt as stunningly mishandled. Holy fuck. That's a... This manhunt was stunningly mishandled. But, Peter was transferred from prison to Broadmoor Hospital. That's where Charles Bronson was held, I'm pretty sure. In March 1984, after being diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. The High Court dismissed an appeal by Peter in 2010, confirming that he would serve a whole life order and never be released from custody. Well, I mean, if you kill 13 people, I don't think you should be released. That's just me, though. In August 2016, it was ruled that Peter was mentally fit to be returned to prison, and he was transferred that month to HM Prison, Frankland in Durham. Word. Peter died in the hospital on the 13th of November 2020 when he was 74 after being diagnosed with COVID. So fucking COVID got him. Fuck's sakes, COVID. It'd be like that, I guess. It'd be like that. But yeah, that's basically a summary of this dude. So let's delve in deeper to who he is and all that good stuff. So Peter Scutcliff was born to a working class family in Brigley West Ride of Yorkshire. West Riding of Yorkshire word, and was raised as a Catholic. His parents were John William Sutcliffe, and the mother was Kathleen Francis. Word. Um, he was reported a loner, I guess, and Peter left school at the age of 15 and had a series of menial jobs, including 2 stints as a grave digger. Word. In the 1960s. Okay, fair. So between November 1971 and April 1973, he worked at the Baird television factory on a packing line. He left this position when he was asked to go on the road as a salesman. Yeah, I wouldn't want to fucking do that either. Fuck that shit. But after leaving the television job or whatnot, Peter worked night shifts at the Britannia Works of Anderton International from April 1973 to word. So he worked there till that date, and then in February 1975 he took redundancy and used half of the 400-pound payoff to train as a heavy goods vehicle driver. Word. So like a trucker. On the 5th of March 1976, Peter was dismissed for the theft of used tires. Okay, so he's stealing tires. Some Trailer Park Boys shit right there. He was unemployed until October 76, when he found a job as a HGV driver for T and WH Clark Holdings Ltd. Word. On the Canal Road Industrial East in Bradford. Interesting. So pretty normal so far. Early life, pretty normal. But Peter, by some reports, hired prostitutes as a young man. Okay, fair enough. And it has been thought that he had a bad experience during which he was conned out of money by a hooker and her pimp. Okay. Other sources of his actions have not found evidence that he actually sought the services of hookers, but note that the nonetheless developed an obsession with them. Okay. Fucking my stuttering. Holy fuck. Including watching them soliciting on the streets of Leeds and Bradford. Yes, I stutter because like my brain moves faster than my fucking mouth can or whatever. And I try to say words, I guess, before I know what I'm reading, if that makes sense. But yeah, there's that. But anyways, onwards. Peter met Sonia Suzarm on the 14th of February 1967, and they married on the 10th of August 74. Sonia suffered several miscarriages, and they were informed that she would not be able to have kids. Oh, that would fucking suck. She resumed a teaching training course. During this time, she had an affair with an ice cream van driver. She had an affair with the ice cream man. Holy fuck. Sonia completed the course in 77 and began teaching. She and Peter used her salary to buy a house at 6 Garden Lane in Heaton in Bradford, word, and which they moved into on the 26th of September 77, and where they were living at the time of Peter's arrest. Interesting. So, in his childhood and his early adolescence, Peter showed no signs of abnormality. So he showed no signs of fuckery at play, I guess you could say. But one of his brothers admitted that their father was an abusive alcoholic, stating that their father once smashed a beer glass over Peter's head for sitting in his chair at the Christmas table after arguing when the brother was 4 or 5 years old. Holy fuck. Their father used to whip them with a belt. Later, in part related to his occupation as a gravedigger, he developed a macabre sense of humor. Don't we all have that now in this age of the internet? In his late adolescence, Peter developed a growing obsession with voyeurism and spent much time spying on prostitutes and men seeking their services. So voyeurism is the sexual interest in or practice of watching other people engage in intimate behavior such as undressing, sexual activity, or other actions, usually considered to be of a private nature. Okay, fair enough. So there is that, his early life. It sounds pretty normal for the most part, up until the voyeurism part. But I mean, if he's watching with permission, fucking all the power to you, I guess, if that's your fucking thing. But yeah. So I guess we're jumping right into the attacks and murders now. So there's a little chart here with the locations. So I'll just start from the top. Leeds, 6 murders, 4 attacks, 10 total victims. Bradford, 3 murders, 2 attacks, 5 total victims. Manchester, 2 murders, 2 victims. Huddersfield, 1 murder, 1 attack, 2 victims. Halifax. Oh, we got a Halifax where I am. Ooh, boom, a little hint where I'm from. But Halifax, I'm guessing in fucking England or whatever. In the UK, 1 murder, 1 attack, 2 victims. Key Highly, 0 murders, 1 attack, 1 victim. Silsden, 0 murders, 1 attack, and total 13 murders, 10 attacks, and 23 victims. Word. So there is that chart. So let's get a little further into this. Yeah. So yeah, Leeds was where most of these murders and stuff took place. So yeah. And Peter's first and last murders occurred in Leeds. Interesting. So Peter's 13 known murder victims were, bear with me with these pronunciations, Wilma Mccain in Leeds, 1975, Emily Jackson, Leeds, 1976, Irene Richardson, Leeds, 1977, Patricia Tina Acterson, Bradford, 1977, Janine MacDonald, Leeds, 1977, Jane Jordan, Manchester, 1977, Giovanni Pearson, Bradford, 1978, Helen Recta, Huddersfield, 1978, Vera Millward, Manchester, 1978, and Josephine Whitaker, Halifax, 1979, and Barbara Leach, Bradford, 1979, Margaret Walls, Leeds, 1980, and Jacqueline Hill, Leeds, 1980. So those are all his victims. He is known to have attacked 10 other women. Yes. So a woman of unknown name in Bradford, 1969, Anna Rofslinsky. In Kylhe, 1975. Olivia Smelt, Halifax, 1975. Tracy Brown, Celestin, 75. Marcella Claxton, Leeds, 76. Maureen Long, Bradford, 77. Marilyn Moore, Leeds, 77. Anne Rooney, Leeds, 79. Hannah Banarda, fuck's sake, Upadhya, last name Bandara, in Leeds, 80. And Theresa Skies, Huddersfield, in 80. And Claxton was 4 months pregnant when she was attacked and lost a baby. Holy fuck. That's sad. That is fucking sad. Holy shite. Alright, so those are his victims. And Peter's first documented assault, was of a female escort or prostitute, whatever you want to call him, who he met while searching for another woman who had tricked him out of money. Oh, so he left his friend Trevor Bertasol's minivan and walked up to St. Paul's Road in Bradford until he was out of sight. When Peter returned, he was out of breath, as if he had been running. He told his friend to drive off quickly. Peter said he had followed a prostitute into a garage and hit her over the head with a stone and a sock. Some prison shit right there, holy. And according to his statement, Peter said, I got out of the car, went across the road, and hit her. The force of the impact tore the toe of the sock, and whatever was in came out. I went back to the car and got in it. Holy. So police visited Peter's home the next day, as the woman he had attacked had noted his friend's vehicle registration plate, the license plate. Okay. He admitted he had hit her, but claimed it was with his hand, and the police told him he was very lucky, as the woman did not want anything more to do with the incident. Holy fuck. She was a known prostitute, and her husband was serving a jail term for assault. Well, there is that, but I guess that's some fucking fairly tamed year, I guess, in his little fucking spree of fucking fuckery. I say fucking a lot. I should just get a shirt with a bunch of fucks on it. Yeah, that would definitely be a good merch idea. So 75. Peter committed his second assault on the night of the 5th of July, 75, in Kiley. He attacked Anne Roskilly, who was walking alone, striking her unconscious with a ball peen, a hammer, and slashing her stomach with a knife. Disturbed by a neighbor, he left without killing her, so she got lucky. So she survived after surgery, so a neurological surgery by Mr. A. Handy Kelly at Leeds General Infirmary, but was psychologically traumatized, obviously, by the attack. She said later, I've been afraid to go out much because I feel people are staring and pointing at me. The whole thing is making my life a misery. I sometimes wish I had died in the attack. Well, shite. And then on April 15th, Peter attacked Olivia Smelt in Halifax. So, employing the same MO, he briefly engaged Smelt with commonplace pleasantry about the weather before striking hammer blows to her head from behind. Okay. He then disarranged her clothes and slashed her lower back with a knife. Again, he was interrupted and left his victim badly injured but alive. So he was trying to kill these last two. Like the other woman, Smelt subsequently suffered severe emotional and mental trauma, obviously. She had told interviewer she had told interviewing officer Deputy Supt Dick Holland. Later, the Ripper Squad's second in command, that her attacker had a Yorkshire accent. But this information was ignored, okay, as was the fact that neither she or the other girl were in towns with the red light area, okay? So they were in towns with a red light area, so they thought they were just hookers or something. They thought they were hookers, yeah, word. On the 27th of August, Peter attacked 14-year-old Tracy Brown, in Silsden. He struck her from behind and hit her over the head 5 times while she was walking along the country lane. He left when he saw the lights of a passing car, leaving his victim requiring brain surgery. Okay. Peter was not convicted of the attack, but confessed to it in 1992. Well, shit. And then his first murder victim was Wilma Mccain on the 30th of October. She was from Scott Hall in Leeds and was a mother of 4 children between the ages of 2 and 7. And Peter struck her twice with a hammer in the head and then inflicted a stab wound to her throat, 2 stab wounds below her right breast, 3 stab wounds below the right breast, 2 stab wounds below the right breast, 3 stab wounds below the right breast, and series of 9 stab wounds around the umbilicus, so the belly button. An extensive injury involving 150 officer... inquiry. An extensive inquiry involving 150 officers of the West Yorkshire Police and 11,000 interviews failed to find the perpetrator. And then in December of 2007, William's eldest daughter, Sonia Newlands, died by suicide, reportedly after suffering years of anguish and desperation over the circumstances and consequences of her mother's death upon her and her siblings. Well, shit. So he hit her over the head with the hammer 2 times, stabbed her in the throat, so that's 1 stab wound, stabbed her 2 more times below the right breast, and then 3 more times, that's 6 times, so he stabbed her 6 times, and 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, so he stabbed her 15 times. That is, fucking wild. So I guess that's his MO, fucking hitting him with an object, usually a hammer, and then stabbing the shit out of him. But, I just wonder, why is he doing this? Why? Why? Is it for, like, a sexual reason? Does he just hate women? Or, like, what's the deal, bro? What's the deal? And then his next murder was in January 1972, when he stabbed 42-year-old Emily Jackson 52 times. And, in dire financial, restraints or whatever, Jackson had been pursued by her husband to engage in prostitution, utilizing the van of her family roofing business. So her fucking husband was a prick job and made her, but he basically pimped her out-ish, kinda, not really, I don't fucking know. But Peter picked up Jackson, who was soliciting outside a pub, Gady's Pub on Roundhay Road, then drove about half a mile to some desolate buildings on Enfield Terrace in Manor Industrial Estate. Peter hit her on the head with the hammer, dragged her body into a rubber steward yard, then used a sharpened screwdriver to stab her in the neck, chest, and abdomen. He stamped on her thigh, leaving behind an impression of his boot. Holy fuck. That is wild. And then his next victim was an attack, and this was in Ronhay Park, and this was of Marcel Claxton. So she lived, and yeah. 4 months pregnant and subsequently miscarried the baby. She required multiple extensive brain operations and suffered from intermittent blackouts and chronic depression. Yeah, if you lose your baby to an attack, holy fuck. That would suck big time. So his next murder was on the 5th of February when he attacked Irene Richardson in Chapeltown prostitute in Roadhay Park. So the same park as the pregnant lady. So Richardson was bludgeoned to death with a hammer, so beat to death. And once she was dead, Peter mutilated her corpse with a knife. So I guess this is where the Yorkshire Ripper came from, copying Jack the Ripper. Kind of similar crimes, I guess. Tire tracks left near the murder scene resulted in a long list of possible suspect vehicles. Okay. And then 2 months later, on the 23rd of April, Peter killed Patricia Atkinson, a prostitute from Bradford, in her home, where police found a boot print in the bedclothes, so bed sheets. Another 2 months later, doesn't say how he killed her, by the way. I'm guessing it's the same as the rest. Couple months later, on the 26th of June, he murdered 16-year-old Janine McDonald in Chapeltown. She was not a prostitute, and in the public perception, her murder showed that all women were potential victims. Yes, I see. The police described her as the first innocent victim. That's fucked up. Peter seriously assaulted, it doesn't say how he murdered that one either, but Peter seriously assaulted Maureen Long in Bradford in July. He was interrupted and fled, leaving her for death. She was suffering from hypothermia when she was found, so dying of cold, basically. And she was in the hospital for 9 weeks. A witness misidentified the make of his car, resulting in more than 300 police officers checking thousands of cars without success. Well, shite. Just in case I didn't clarify this is 1977 now. In 1977, and this started with Richardson. So, yeah, there is that. And then on October 1st, 77, Peter murdered Jane Jordan, a prostitute from Manchester. In a confession, Peter said he had raised the new $5 note he had given her was traceable. Okay. Oh, he realized it was traceable. Okay. After hosting a family party at his new home, he returned to the wasteland behind Manchester's South Cemetery, where he had left the body, to retrieve the note. Okay. Unable to find it, he mutilated Jordan's corpse and moved it. Well, shite. Okay, then. On October 9th, her body was found by a local dairy worker and future actor Bruce Jones. Who the fuck's Bruce Jones? Ian Royston Jones, better known as Bruce Jones, is an English actor. He is best known for his role in Taxi Driver. Okay. Well, shit. There's that. So, he had an altamont on the land adjoining the site where the body was found, and when searching for house bricks, when he made the discovery. Okay. The $5 note hidden in a secret compartment of Jordan's handbag was traced to a branch of the Midland Bank in Shipley and Brigley. Police analysis of the bank operations allowed them to narrow their field of inquiries to 8,000 employees who could have received it in their wage packet. Interesting. over 3 months of police interviews, 5,000 men, including Peter. Okay, so they interviewed 5,000 men in 3 months, including Peter. The police found that the alibi given for Peter's whereabouts was credible. He had indeed spent much of the evening of the killing at a family party, okay? Weeks of very intense investigation permitting to the origins of the $5 note led to nothing, leaving police where they began. Oh, shit. Yes, because they were frustrated, obviously, because they're like, fuck, we thought we had something here. But, yeah, because they couldn't figure out, where the note was issued from and to who. They could only narrow it down to, like, which brand of bank, I guess you could say. And then all his attacks, just continue or whatnot. You can read up on the rest and all that stuff. I read you the victim list, and I read you the first about 4 or 5 attacks. You guys can read the rest in the sources below. But I will read you the last one, because I'm not a cunt. But, on April 1980, Peter was arrested for drunk driving, and when he was waiting for trial, he killed 2 more women. Peter murdered 47-year-old Margaret Walls on the night of August 20th, 1980, and 20-year-old Jacqueline Hill, a student at Leeds University, on the 17th of November, 1980. Hill's body was found on wasteland near the Arndale Center. He also attacked 3 other women who survived. Okay. Word. That is that. Dressing, On the 25th of November, 1980, Trevor Bridstall, an associate of Peter and the gateway driver to the Scutcliff field, his first documented assault in 1969, reported him to the police as a suspect. Okay, so Trevor Birdsall reported him as a suspect. Word. Sorry if that was a little bit confusing. But the information vanished into the paperwork already accumulated. Holy fuck, that's a fuck up right there. Okay, so arrest and trial. Fucking Law and Order. But yes, arrest and trial. So, on the 2nd of January, 1981, Peter was stopped by the police with a 24-year-old prostitute, Olivia Rivers, in the driveway of Light Trade's house in Melbourne Avenue, Broomshill, Sherfield. Okay. So a police check by probationary constable Robert Hydes revealed Peter's car had false license plates, and he was arrested and transferred to Dewberry Police Station. At the police station, he was questioned in relation to the Yorkshire Ripper case, as he matched many of the known physical characteristics. Okay, so there was witnesses. Okay, fair enough. The next day, police returned to the scene of the arrest and discovered a knife, hammer, and rope he had discarded when he briefly slipped away from the police after telling them he was bursting for a pee. Okay. Peter hid a second knife in the toilet. Okay. At the police station when he was permitted to use the washroom. Okay. And then the police acquired a search warrant for his house in Heaton and brought his wife in for questioning. Well, shit. Damn, bruh. So, when Peter was stripped and searched at the police station, he was wearing an inverted v-neck sweater under his pants. The sleeves had been pulled up over his legs, and the v-neck exposed his private area. That's fucking okay. That's out there. That's fucking the way she goes, I guess. The front of the elbows were padded to protect his knees, as presumably he knelt over his victims' corpses. Oh shit. The sexual implications of this outfit were considered obvious, but was not made public until 2003. So maybe he sexually assaulted his victims too. Well, shit. But these were this was listed in a book, the Wicked Beyond Beliefs: The Hunt for the Yorkshire Ripper by Michael Bilton. Word. Michael, I hope I said that right. Yeah, your boy sucks at fucking pronouncing names. But after 2 days of intensive questioning, on the afternoon of the 4th of January 1981, Peter suddenly declared he was the Ripper. Over the next day, he calmly described his attacks. Weeks later, he claimed God had told him to murder the women. The women I kill were filth, he said to the police. Bastard prostitutes who were littering the streets. I was just cleaning up the place a bit. Holy fuck. Peter displayed regret only when talking about his youngest murder victim, Jane McDonald, and was questioned about killing Joan Harrison. He vehemently denied responsibility. Okay. Harrison's murder had been linked to the Ripper killings by the Warside Jack claim in 2011, DNA evidence revealed that the crime had actually been committed by convicted sex offender Christopher Smith, who had died in 2008. So there is that. So on the 5th of January 1981, Peter was charged, and at his trial he pled not guilty to 13 charges of murder, but guilty to manslaughter on the grounds of diminished responsibility. So there is that. The basis of his defense was that he claimed to be the tool of God's will, and Peter said he had heard voices that ordered him to kill prostitutes while working as a graveyard digger, which he claimed originated from the headstone of a Polish man. Okay, I'm gonna butcher the fuck out of this. The tombstone of Polish man Bronislaw Zapoliski. Well, I surprisingly didn't say that too bad. Okay. And that the voices were that of God. That is fucking wild. Peter pled guilty to 7 charges of attempted murder, and the prosecution intended to accept Peter's plea after 4 psychiatrists diagnosed him with paranoid schizophrenia. But the trial judge, Justice Sir Leslie Borham, demanded an unusually detailed explanation of the prosecution's reasoning. Okay. After a 2-hour representation by Attorney General Sir Michael Harvers, a 90-minute lunch break, and another 40 minutes of legal discussion, the judge rejected the diminished responsibility plea and the expert testimonies of the psychiatrists, insisting that the case should be dealt with by a jury. The trial was set to continue or take place or whatnot on the 5th of May 1981. So there is all that. And Peter was found guilty of murder on all counts and was sentenced to 20 concurrent sentences of life imprisonment. The jury rejected the evidence of the 4 psychiatrists that Peter had paranoid schizophrenia, possibly influenced by the evidence of a prison officer who heard him say to his wife that if he convicted people, he was mad, then if he convinced people he was mad, then he might get 10 years in a loony bin. Okay, word. That makes sense. Okay. So he's trying to play the crazy bit, and if you murder fucking 13 people, you could probably play the crazy bit pretty well and have people believe you easier. But the trial judge said Peter was beyond redemption, word, and hoped he would never leave prison. Fair enough. He recommended a minimum term of 30 years to be served before parole could be considered, meaning Peter would be unlikely to be freed until 2011. On the 16th of July, 2010, the High Court issued Peter with a whole life tariff, meaning he was never to be released. After his trial, Peter admitted to 2 other attacks. It was decided the prosecution for these offenses was not in public interest. West Yorkshire police made it clear that the victims wished to remain anonymous. Okay. Interesting stuff, man. So, it says here, like I said earlier, we were going to get into how the police could have fucked dog hard on this case, and it says West Yorkshire police were criticized for being inadequately prepared for an investigation on this scale. It was one of the largest investigations by British police, and predated the use of computers, so like before computers, okay? So information on suspects was stored on handwritten index cards. Aside from difficulties in storing and accessing the paperwork, it was difficult for officers to overcome the information overload for such a large manual system. That makes sense. Okay. Peter was interviewed 9 times yet, but all the information the police had about the case was stored in papered form, making cross-referencing difficult. Makes sense. Compounded by television appeals for information, which garnered thousands more documents. Yes. So, the 1982 Byford Report into the investigation concluded the ineffectiveness of the major incident room was a serious handicap to the Ripper investigation. While it should have been the effective nerve center of the whole police operation, the backlog of unprocessed information resulted in the failure to connect vital pieces of related information. This serious fault in the central index system allowed Peter Scutcliff to continually slip through the net. Yeah, man, but I mean, that makes sense. If everything's on paper or whatnot, it's hard to keep track of shit and cross-reference it, like they said. Like, just imagine having fucking boxes upon boxes of paper to go through, and then trying to cross-reference it and compare it for similarities or whatnot. It's fucking wild. Wild shit. So there is that. And then here it says here, there was sexist attitudes. So the West Yorkshire police reflected Peter's own misogyny and sexist attitudes according to multiple sources. Jim Hobson, a senior West Yorkshire detective, told the press conference in October 1979 that perpetrator has made it clear that he hates prostitutes. Many people do. We, as a police force, will continue to arrest prostitutes, but the Ripper is now killing innocent girls. Oof. That indicates your mental state and that you are in an urgent need of medical attention. You have made your points. Give yourself up before another innocent woman dies. Yeah, that's fucked up. John Smith wrote in Misogynies 1989 and 1993 that even Scutcliff at his trial did not go quite this far. He did at least claim he was demented at the time. An Attorney General Sir Michael Harves, QC, at the trial in 81 said that Peter's victims in his opening statement, some were prostitutes, but perhaps the saddest part of the case is that some were not. The last 6 attacks on totally respectable women. This drew condemnation from the English collective of prostitutes, who protested outside the Old Bailey. Nia Lopez, who was one of the ECP protesters in 81, told The Independent 40 years later Sir Michael's comments were an indictment of the whole way in which the police and establishment were dealing with the Yorkshire Ripper case. Yeah, it's bad that they had that, sexism shit going on throughout the case. Yeah, they're prostitutes, so, fuck it. But, innocent women are getting hurt now. We gotta step in. It's kind of fucked up if you ask me, man. And then here it says a bunch of stuff about the Byford Report. You guys can get into that yourselves if you would like. And then custody. He was in prison, a bunch of places, and mental hospitals, like I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast episode. He filed a few appeals, but they were all shot down. And, yeah. And then it says later events. In December 2015, Peter was assessed as being no longer mentally ill. And in August 2016, a medical tribunal ruled he no longer required clinical treatment for his mental condition and could be returned to prison, like I said in the beginning of the podcast. Peter was reported to have been transferred to Broadmoor, from Broadmoor to HMP Prison Frankland in Durham County, Durham. In August 2016 and 2017, West Yorkshire Police launched Operation Paintball to determine if Peter was guilty of unsolved crimes dating back to 1964. This inquiry also looked at the killings of 2 prostitutes in southern Sweden in 1980. As Peter was a lorry driver, it was theorized that he had been in Denmark and Sweden, making use of the ferry to cross to places or whatnot. In December 2017, West Yorkshire Police, in response to the Freedom of Information request, neither confirmed nor denied that Operation Paint Hall existed. West Yorkshire Police later stated that they were absolutely certain that Peter had never been in Sweden. There is that. So, and then there are fucking movies, documentaries, and songs and all that stuff about them. As with most serial killers. So, yeah, you can go look into that if you would like. All the sources are in the description below if you would like to do so. But, yeah. Definitely an interesting one. I've never heard of them. If you guys have, let me know what you think down in the comments below. Let me know. Definitely an interesting one. Very interesting. But, yeah, there is no emails for advice or whatnot. So, yeah, maybe next week, hopefully. Maybe. But, yes. So that is the Yorkshire Ripper. Thank you for listening to this episode on the Murder House Radio Show. I hope you have a good rest of your Friday, or whenever you are listening to this. Check out the social medias and the sources in the description below. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Once you hit the subscribe button, Hit the bell notification and select all to get all notifications if you are listening on YouTube. If you are listening on a podcasting platform, hit follow. Leave your suggestions for future episodes in the comments. See you next episode. This is your host X, signing off.